Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Yo, what's happening, Rush Nation? We're back, second show of the week, Thursday, and I'm just going to drop it. I'm just going to say it's a banger.
It's an absolute banger. We're very privileged to have one of the leading media talents in the NFL with us. So with us, without further ado, former NFL lineman, 5 teams in 7 years, probably the hardest working man in sports media. It's Ross Tucker. Ross Tucker, welcome to 5 Yard Rush. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Good to talk with you guys again, and good timing. Yeah, I just announced on Twitter and Instagram at Ross Tucker NFL that I signed a multi-year deal to keep doing the Eagles preseason games. Last year was my first year doing it. I loved it, and it's funny. I grew up a huge Eagles fan. I played for 5 teams other than the Eagles. I never actually played for the Eagles. But now I'm the Eagles broadcaster, which I guess is close enough.
Well, it's amazing. Congratulations. It's well deserved. I love listening to you. Eagles fans should consider themselves very lucky they get more Russ Tucker in their ears and on their screens.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see in the coming years how many preseason games there are. The point I've been making to people is you look at the Eagles last year. I mean, the reason why they made the playoffs is because of the guys that were playing in the preseason games on the practice squad. Boston Scott and Greg Ward and Josh Perkins, all these guys came up big for them. Preseason games matter.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. They really do. And it'd be a shame to take away 1 or 2 to fit in extra games. I can see why the appeal is there. And why people want to do it. But at the same time, these guys now have a real shot in making a career in the NFL, and they wouldn't have done that without the preseason games and actually getting game reps in those games. So it could mean that talent just slips through the NFL, which is always would be a shame.
I agree. And if they're going to do that, I think that they need to make sure there's a league like the XFL around, whether they partner with them or not, but some other league around to at least give these guys a second opportunity, because they might not get much of an opportunity if there's only 2 or 3 preseason games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up watching NFL Europe, and some of the guys that came through NFL Europe, Kurt Warner, Brad Johnson, the 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, for example, played and made their names in NFL Europe because they didn't get their quote-unquote start straight away. And, Kurt Warner made the Hall of Fame. So, not a bad guy to have in the developmental league, and a reason why there should always be at least one. But want to just spend some time with you just talking a little bit about your playing days in terms of how you got into playing football, and also in college you moved from defensive line to the offensive line at guard. What sort of led to those changes, and and how did you sort of thrive and find your way into the NFL?
Yeah, so I was a very late bloomer in high school. I wasn't very big really until my last year of high school, my senior year of high school. So I didn't get the big offers from Alabama and Notre Dame and USC and schools like that, Ohio State. So instead, I went to Princeton. I was just thrilled that combination of football and academics let me go to a school like Princeton. I was ecstatic about that. And then, one of the reasons why I went there is because I like the idea of playing on defense. I like making tackles. I like trying to get sacks. I didn't really, I had no problem playing offensive line. I just thought defensive line was more fun. And as a freshman, I actually started a couple games.
Oh, Ross, you there? We've lost you.
Having to
Hey, Ross, you there? We sort of lost you after games. Hello?
line's still there.
What if he's hit like a dead spot?
Possibly. He's gone.
He's just going to dive back in.
And so, like most people, I just thought playing defensive line was more fun than offensive line. And, after my freshman year, we kept going. We went home for Christmas break and the holidays. And, like a lot of freshmen in college, I came back and ate a lot and drank a lot with my friends. So I went from, I think I played as a freshman at 260. By the time I came back from Christmas break, I was like 283. I'm talking pounds now. I don't know the kilos equivalent, but I'm talking 283 pounds the way we have it over in America. And so there was also a need along the offensive line at Princeton, and they didn't make me switch. They asked me my opinion. They told me they'd like me to try it. They thought it would be for the best for the team and the best for me. They sort of indicated that, that I would get a chance to play either way. And they thought, that I could be a good defensive lineman, but potentially really special as an offensive lineman. And I'm very, very glad I made the switch, because I wouldn't have had a prayer in heck of being an NFL defensive lineman. So it ended up being, the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's amazing. And then, as we sort of mentioned at the top of the call, you played for and drafted by the Redskins. I know some Redskins fans who remember your time there, remember you fondly, and we're glad that you played there before you got traded to the enemy with Dallas, and then stints in Buffalo and New England. And I know you eventually got traded to the Browns. What was it like to be on those different teams and be part of some of the most amazing teams like New England? And, there was a successful period with them with Super Bowls, sort of the start of that Belichick and Brady era, and some of the players you played with. And, what was that like to be part of all that?
It was awesome. I mean, it was a dream come true. And really, I never even thought I'd have what it took to get to the NFL. So, maybe even more than a dream come true. But what's interesting is, and I always tell people, it's kind of like a temp job in your 20s, and that's exactly what it is. But the thing I always tell people that I think surprises them is that when you're in it and you're actually doing it, you don't spend that much time thinking about the other guys on the team or the coaches and players that you're with, especially if you're a guy like in my situation, that you're really just trying to survive in the league and have as long of a career as possible. You really end up not even thinking about that other stuff. It's really about you. I know people think it is a team sport, but it's very much an independent contractor and an individual profession, especially when you're bouncing from team to team. You end up caring a lot less about the team. There's not like loyalty like there was in high school or college. The loyalty is really to you. It's really to, what do I have to do to make this team? What do I have to do to start on this team? What do I have to do to, continue this career as long as possible so I make as much money as possible, for my family, for the damage I'm doing to my body?
A lot of that resonates with me with what I do in my day job and things like that. So that makes a lot of sense to me personally, but I can see.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because fans never look at it that way, right? But then and I didn't either when I was a fan, but once you're actually in it and it is your job, that is how you look at it. You look at it like everybody else looks at their job. You're trying to make as much money as you can. You probably like, having as little hitting in practice as possible. You want, the less arduous the job, the better.
Yeah, 100%. But do you have any great locker room stories or just instances that you can share that just sort of take you back to those times with great fondness?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple that jump out to me. I mean, one in particular was the day I was traded from the Patriots to the Browns. And I think it was maybe August 6th or August 8th of 2006. I remember being out on the field, and I was supposed to go in at center for the 2-minute drill with the second string offense, and instead they put somebody else in at center. And I remember thinking, wow, that's not good. That's not a good sign for me at all. And so after practice, I was going to have to ask the coach, like, why didn't I get my opportunity? But instead he said, Tuck, I need to talk to you. And it was legendary Patriots offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia. And I said, Coach, he said, Tuck. I said, yeah. He's like, here's what I think happened. I think we traded you to Cleveland during practice. And I said, what? And I'd already been cut 3 times in my career. I said, traded for what? You know, I thought it was kind of cool that somebody actually traded something for me, that they actually thought enough of me to trade me. He's like, and Scarnecchia said, as only he could, I don't know, probably a bag of balls. And then what's funny about that is I knew the next day, you know, I'd be flying to Cleveland, and I wanted to – actually that night I'd be flying to Cleveland. I wanted to make a favorable first impression, so I actually went ahead and I went in the cold tub after practice anyway. I wanted to make sure my legs were all healed up for the next day in Cleveland no matter what I was doing, and so I was in the cold tub with the Patriots even though I had been traded to the Browns. And Larry Izzo, the famous special teamer, said, what, are you going to piss in the cold tub before you get out of here? And I said, no, leaving on good terms. And somebody in the cold tub said, well, what are you talking about? And I said, I got traded to Cleveland. I remember Brady was in the cold tub. Brady just kind of got this look on his face like, I don't know if he thought, wow, you got traded to Cleveland, or wow, NFL's crazy that you can just get traded like that.
Yeah, you start practice on one team, you won't practice on another team, and everyone's like muddled as to what's going on.
Being traded is like one of the most baffling things about the NFL to me, especially people new to the game as well. The amount of people who say, well, when somebody's traded, like, is there a period that they're, he's like, no, like Ross just said, you want to play in the next day, see you later. That's madness.
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple times too where like I got cut by the Redskins, picked up by the Cowboys. I suited up for the Cowboys in that next game. And that was the game Emmitt Smith broke the all-time rushing record. So you want to talk about a cool moment, cool experience. I got to do that.
Man,
that's crazy.
Well, there's a couple of real pearlers.
Absolutely.
So Ross, let's talk some Ross Tucker media. How did you start in media to start with?
Yeah, so my, it's funny, when I was like in high school and growing up, I didn't really think I'd be good enough to be a player. So I always wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be on ESPN, or I wanted to write for Sports Illustrated or something like that. And, I actually obviously became a much better player than I ever thought I would be. And then when I was in the NFL, you kind of forget about the media, right? Every guy says they're going to be a broadcaster. Every guy says they're going to be an announcer. So I did other internships with Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor, with Roger Staubach's commercial real estate company, trying to see what else was out there, what else I might want to do in life, etc. And then eventually the NFL had their first ever broadcasting boot camp. And I went to that broadcasting boot camp because I thought, I love football, even if I just do something on the weekends. Maybe I call the Princeton games, my alma mater, on the radio on the weekends. I want to do something football. And so I went to it. It went well. And so after it was over, I ended up getting hurt with the Redskins that training camp, and the broadcast boot camp had gone well enough that I got jobs from Sirius XM and Comcast and Sports Illustrated pretty much right away, which was awesome. Very excited about that. And then shortly after that, I left Sports Illustrated to write at ESPN, and ESPN asked me if I would host their their NFL podcast. I had no idea what a podcast was, but I said, sure, I'd be happy to. And so I went and did their podcast for a few years. I think some of your listeners probably remember. It was called the Football Today podcast. And then I left there and started the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, which is kind of cool. It's about 30 minutes daily. My opinion as a former player on everything going on around the NFL, interviews with guys like Andrew Brandt and Greg Cosell every week and other guys. I had Diana Rossini on Monday, and then I started an Even Money sports betting podcast, Fantasy Feast fantasy football podcast, college draft podcast for people that are really into the college draft. So it's been awesome. I really enjoy it, and I'm certainly glad I started those podcasts. That's for sure.
Absolutely, because now you're the king of podcasts. It's hard to find a podcast that you've not been on or do. And sort of part of the introduction there is, you had our friend Jacob who set the world record for visiting all the stadiums in 1 year on your Home and Away podcast, or the one that you co-host with. He was on there with you, I think, around Christmas time or just before that, just after it.
Yes, Jacob was fantastic. The world record is amazing. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. What a guy. We had him on before he did it, and he was just like, I don't think anyone's really going to pay attention. And we had him on afterwards, and he was saying, well, it was pretty quiet until that last week. And then all of a sudden, we just start getting notifications. He's on BBC, he's on Sky Sports, he's on NFL.com. And all of a sudden, he's like, it's all blown up. It's like, it's just a guy from Leeds who we just got talking to, and he told us he was going to do this thing. So, unreal.
That is amazing. I think it's amazing. I love that guy.
Yeah, totally incredible bloke with great memories. And it was a shame the Super Bowl didn't work out for him, but I'm sure he wouldn't trade any of it in for a moment. No. But what would you say is sort of the most proud moment of your media career to date, Ross?
That's a good question. I never really looked at it that way. I guess I'd say, this past off season was probably my best off season and my proudest moment, because CBS hired me to do college football for them and to do games for the Army Black Knights. That's the military in the United States. They have West Point. They have a really good football team, and it's a special atmosphere. And it's an honor. My grandfather was in the military, so it's an honor to call their games.
Hey, well, look, Ross, we really appreciate your time. Caught you on the school run, and you got to run in and grab your daughters from school. But listen, we'll have you back on in the future for sure. I imagine there's loads of stories you can tell us. But until then, we'll speak soon. You go get your little girls. Hey, man, that was pretty cool.
That was amazing. Just some of the stories. Just a shame Ross had to go. But he's also busy, but he's so generous of his time to come on and share some really cool stories and just share a little bit into what it's like to be a player in the league and then getting out and his media background. And we'll definitely try and get him on again soon.
And it just shows you how busy people in the actual industry are. We've always said this is a hobby of ours. We do it in the studio, which is in my mother's garage. But when people are in the industry, they're getting phone calls during 20-minute podcasts. They've got to run. They've got 20 minutes where he's pulled up at his daughter's school car park. He can give us 20 minutes of his time, and then he's got to run in because he's got stuff to do afterwards. And the fact that people in the industry who are that busy still want to give us 20 minutes of their time is unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. Very generous. And hope we're getting back on soon. And
for sure.
There's more great guests coming. Booked a couple of amazing guests towards the end of the month. And a lot of it comes from you guys, and you keep listening to us. We got some amazing reviews this week. They keep boosting us up rankings. So please do keep writing the reviews. They keep us going just for that bit of support, but also the fact that, we get on the radar of people and people want to come on. And even Ross, how busy he is, it's just like, yeah, sure, definitely come on. Really happy to do this. So, yeah, amazing.
And in the typical you and me, Murf, we went too long and the guy had to run off. So
yeah, I think that's always the thing. But we'll make some time, hopefully, in the summer when he's got a bit more time. It's not the busy season, but yeah, I thought just some really fascinating stuff in there. Just the trade story is just crazy. I mean, it's just
Joe at work. Shout out to you, Joe. I know you listen. Ask me about trades, and I've always said, when somebody calls your number, you go. But literally, Ross just said he was in the bath at the end of Patriots practice as a Cleveland Brown mid practice. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
insane.
Amazing story. But yeah, I've listened to Ross for a number of years, and it's just great to just talk with him. And I guess it's kind of why we do it, right? It's not
100%.
It's just to talk to some people that we absolutely love and respect. And yeah, we've got some great guests coming on. We had Cy Tuesday, who's amazing, just such a fountain of knowledge for all things draft. And I know that we both got a lot out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got.
Wait, don't blow the lid. Don't blow the lid.
No, I'm not blowing.
Just, we've got good guests coming.
We've always got good guests coming.
Don't tease with who it is.
No.
Make sure you listen, Rush Nation.
Definitely.
Because we know you are. It's the off season. You're
hit
still
the
here.
subscribe button.
Yes, hit subscribe. Come over to YouTube because we're on camera now. Don't forget.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, thanks very much. If you're not, come on and give us a watch because it's entertaining stuff.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, head over to NFL Shop Europe. Use the code 5YardRush for 10% off your entire order. And, it's sale time. Is the sale over yet or is it still ticking?
I think that sale's over, but there's always going to be some sort of sale on.
Exactly. So
draft hats are getting leaked, so draft hats will be on sale soon. So get 10% off your draft hats.
This is not
They're going to be black. Just FYI.
Oh, is that the one with the stripe down the middle?
Potentially.
Oh, so they're already for sale on
No.
Fanatics US?
It shouldn't be.
Well, there's a black hat with a silver stripe that goes right down the middle with the team's name on the peak.
Ooh, I think it's more. Yeah, I think there's two versions because these are going to have like the nicknames as part of them.
Oh, I didn't want to buy one and now I do.
Yeah, boys. But you got 10% off. And don't forget to also pop over to helmethouse.co.uk where if you're looking to get a signed helmet, or better yet, if you it's your birthday coming up and you've got a significant other, friends with a bit of spare disposable income and you want to just chance your arm and go, I know what we should get.
Yes, love. This is what we need on the dining room table.
Yes.
Wallop.
Give it a go. It won't work for my wife, but hey, you just never know.
Listen, our man behind the glass is making some funny faces. I imagine he's got one or two bits knocking about. Right, Rush Nation. Until next week, this has been a blast, man.
Absolutely.
But as always, don't you forget, keep rushing.